Ever wondered why the year starts on January 1st and not any other day? Well, to answer that question, we first need to understand the concept of the Gregorian calendar. It's like a fascinating puzzle, a human-made concept that has shaped our understanding and measure of time. Imagine this: you're trying to organize your life, your society, your agriculture. You need a reliable system, but the one you're using is slightly off, messing up your seasons and holidays. That's the predicament faced by many before the Gregorian calendar came into existence. The Gregorian calendar, which we all know and use today, is not just about marking the days and months. It's a story that intertwines power, religion, and scientific discovery. It's a story of power because it was the mighty Roman Empire that first introduced a calendar system that closely resembles what we use today, the Julian calendar. But it wasn't perfect. The calculations were a bit off, and over centuries these small discrepancies added up. Now, enter religion. The Catholic Church had a problem. Because of these inaccuracies in the Julian calendar, the date of Easter, a movable feast based on the cycles of the moon, was slowly drifting away from its intended time. This was a significant issue for the Church, and it needed a solution. That's where scientific discovery comes into play. The Church enlisted the help of astronomers, who, after careful study and calculation, proposed a new calendar. This new system, named after Pope Gregory XIII, who introduced it in 1582, was more accurate and kept Easter closer to the spring equinox. The Gregorian calendar, with its 12 months and 365 days, and a leap day added in February every 4 years, became the solution to the drifting Easter and the time puzzle the world had been grappling with. So let's dive into the intriguing history of the Gregorian calendar. The tale of the Gregorian calendar begins in ancient Rome. It was here, in the heart of a vast empire, that the Julian calendar was first implemented by none other than Julius Caesar himself in 46 BC. Before Caesar's intervention, the Roman calendar was a chaotic mess, constantly falling out of sync with the seasons. To resolve this, Caesar decided to standardize time. He introduced a new calendar system, based on the 365.25-day solar year that we're all familiar with today. To account for the extra quarter of a day, Caesar introduced a leap year system. Every 4 years, an extra day was added at the end of February. This kept the calendar year closely aligned with the solar year. It was a simple yet ingenious solution. But like all human inventions, the Julian calendar was not perfect. You see, the actual solar year isn't exactly 365.25 days long. It's about 365.2425 days. This might not seem like much of a difference, but it adds up. For every 128 years, the Julian calendar would gain a full day. Now, you might be thinking, what's the big deal? It's just one day. Well, over centuries, this small miscalculation led to a significant drift of dates. Holidays and seasons started to shift. The spring equinox, which should have fallen around March 21st, was occurring earlier and earlier. This miscalculation was more than just a minor annoyance. It was problematic for farmers who relied on the calendar for planting and harvesting. It troubled the Church, which based its liturgical events on specific calendar dates. The Julian calendar, once a beacon of order in a chaotic world, had become a source of confusion. Its inability to keep pace with the solar year was a glaring flaw that needed to be addressed. In the grand scheme of things, the Julian calendar's miscalculation may seem insignificant, but as with many things in life, the devil is in the details. But as time passed, this minor miscalculation began to cause major issues. By the 16th century, the Julian calendar was 10 days off. This discrepancy was due to a miscalculation in the Julian calendar's system of leap years. The calendar had been adding an extra day every 4 years, but this was slightly more time than needed to account for the Earth's orbit around the Sun. Over centuries, these minutes and seconds added up, causing a noticeable drift of dates. Enter Pope Gregory XIII. He noticed this drift and decided to rectify it. To do so, he introduced a new calendar in 1582, aptly named the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar adjusted the formula for determining leap years. Instead of having a leap year every 4 years, the new rule added a caveat. If the year could be evenly divided by 100, it would not be a leap year, unless it was also divisible by 400. This change might seem small, but it was enough to bring the calendar back in line with the solar year. But what about the 10-day discrepancy that had already occurred? Pope Gregory had a simple, if somewhat drastic, solution. In October 1582, he decreed that the day following the 4th of October would be the 15th. Just like that, 10 days were removed from the year. People went to sleep on the 4th and woke up on the 15th. The implementation of the Gregorian calendar was not without controversy. Many people felt their lives were being shortened by 10 days. Others were upset that their favorite saints' days had been moved. And, of course, not everyone was thrilled about the Catholic Pope making decisions about their calendars. Despite the initial resistance, the Gregorian calendar was a more accurate way to measure the solar year. It corrected the drift of dates and ensured that seasons would occur at the same time each year. Yet it took centuries for the calendar to be adopted worldwide. The Gregorian calendar was more accurate, but it wasn't immediately accepted worldwide. But that's a tale for the next scene. The road to global acceptance of the Gregorian calendar was long and winding. The Gregorian calendar, despite its precision and practicality, was not embraced by the world immediately. Quite the contrary, its adoption was a slow and gradual process spanning centuries and reflecting the complex interplay of religion, politics, and society. The first countries to adopt the Gregorian calendar, predictably, were the Catholic nations. Pope Gregory XIII's decree in 1582 was swiftly followed by countries such as Spain, Portugal, and Italy. France, Luxembourg, and the Catholic states of the Netherlands and Germany were not far behind. However, Protestant and Orthodox countries were more resistant, viewing the change as a Catholic innovation. It wasn't until the 18th century that Protestant countries like Great Britain and its colonies, including what is now the United States, made the switch. For the Eastern Orthodox countries, it took even longer. Greece, for example, didn't adopt the Gregorian calendar until 1923. The story of the Gregorian calendar's expansion to non-Christian countries is equally fascinating. The Ottoman Empire, for instance, didn't switch until 1926. China, despite having its own lunar calendar for centuries, officially adopted the Gregorian calendar in 1949 for civil purposes. And yet, even today, the Gregorian calendar is not universal. A number of countries use other calendars alongside it for religious or cultural reasons. For instance, Israel uses the Hebrew calendar for religious observances, and Iran and Afghanistan use the solar Hijri calendar for their civil dates. The journey of the Gregorian calendar, from its inception in the chambers of the Vatican to its status as the world's most widely used civil calendar, is a testament to its scientific merits and the globalizing forces of history. It serves as a reminder that time, in all its abstract glory, is ultimately a human construct, shaped and reshaped by our collective decisions in the march of progress. Today, the Gregorian calendar is the most widely used civil calendar worldwide. So, the Gregorian calendar we use today is a product of power, science, and a little bit of stubbornness. As we've journeyed through the annals of time, we've seen the evolution of calendars, from rudimentary attempts to track the passage of days to the sophisticated system we have in place today. The Gregorian calendar, named after Pope Gregory XIII, who introduced it in the 16th century, is a testament to human ingenuity and our ceaseless desire to understand the world around us. This calendar was birthed from a need for accuracy, a need to better align our human-made systems with the celestial bodies that govern our days and nights. The Julian calendar, while revolutionary for its time, had started to drift, creating a discrepancy between the calendar year and the solar year. It was Pope Gregory XIII who took up the mantle to rectify this, leading to the creation of the Gregorian calendar. The transition wasn't smooth or immediate. It took power and influence to implement this new system, and even then, it wasn't universally accepted right away. Some countries held on to the Julian calendar for centuries. Russia, for instance, didn't adopt the Gregorian calendar until the early 20th century. But eventually the Gregorian calendar prevailed, becoming the globally accepted standard it is today. This history underscores the role of power dynamics, scientific understanding, and even a dash of stubbornness in shaping our conception of time. The Gregorian calendar is more than just a tool for marking days. It's a reflection of our collective journey as a species, our quest for knowledge, and our capacity for change. In retrospect, the Gregorian calendar is not merely a system of measurement but a symbol of human progress. It encapsulates our struggle to comprehend the universe, our efforts to assert control over the uncontrollable, and our capacity to adapt and evolve. The next time you flip your calendar to a new year, remember the centuries of history that have brought us to this point.